Hi, my name's Tim Chrisman, and you're watching Tim's Tuesday, where I, Tim Chrisman, am going to talk about pretty much whatever I want for about 5 minutes, because it's Tuesday. Obviously, I can't do this on a Wednesday. But if I was going to do it on a Wednesday, this is the topic I would want to cover, because I want to talk about workforce development. I've been talking with a number of schools, nonprofits, and companies about the future of the space workforce and what is needed, how can we get there, where are we going, and it's a lot. Like trying to figure out what kind of workforce we would need now for the automotive industry, but we're looking at it from 1950. It's not that far in the future, but it is that dramatic of a change in terms of where people will be working, how they'll be working, and more. And the more I talk with groups, with companies, schools, the more I've come to realize that we in the space community have, either intentionally or unintentionally, I get the sense that it's unintentionally, allowed this idea that space is a place for science and exploration and therefore is an exclusive place to work in, to innovate in. And we see this in the messaging around scientific achievements and accomplishments of NASA and space companies. But that has the unintended effect of raising the bar of entry for workers. It's already fairly difficult to develop the skills needed to make a rocket body or a satellite or a subcomponent of either of those. But then we raise the stakes further in the messaging around the idea that essentially anything that goes into space is something that should be qualifying to win a Nobel Prize. And that may have been the case in the 1960s and may still be the goal of researchers pushing the envelope. And that's good. And so I struggle with how to balance not condemning that mindset, because it is useful, it is what we need to continue the advancement and development of new technologies, while also expanding access to the rest of us. I like to joke I don't like math and never could pay attention to science long enough to get a PhD, so the old school space workforce was not for me. And that's how most Americans are. Whether they think about it or not, they want to do what they're good at. And the fact of the matter is, not many of us are good at rocket science, for good reason. And so as we at the Foundation look forward and try to develop this Workforce for the Future initiative, we're trying to determine, how do we bridge the science with the public? And it's more of multiple bridges, because it wasn't the iPhone 1 that sparked or fully developed the smartphone world we live in. No, it was realistically the iPhone 3 or 4 that truly realized the potential of the platform, and the platform was sufficiently built out enough for the iPhone. And as we look to space, the question is, how do we build those multiple bridges, not just between the science and the exploration and the public, but between the engineers who are building the tools for exploration and the engineers who can build for the innovators who will build for the public. Because in many cases, it is that multiple generations of iterations, that connecting of dots that weren't going to be connected by people close to the original invention, that are what truly unlocks the potential of new technologies and achievements. And so as we look to the workforce for the future, we're trying to determine what is it that we can keep, what is it that we don't need, and ultimately, how do we start that virtuous cycle of iteration on what are otherwise niche technologies, niche training programs? How do we iterate off that to cultivate a workforce for the future of space? Workers that do those sort of dirty jobs on the ground that we need in space that are just going to look a little different. And so as we reach out to the community, if you have thoughts on this, I'm going to be honest, we need them. I am not a skilled educator. I want to know how that works. I honestly don't always know how I learn, much less how best to teach others. And so if you have educational ideas, certification experience, or even just want to get either of those, let me know. Email me, tim@f4f.space, and let's figure out how we can start doing that iterative process of linking the engineers to the engineers who can then turn around and link to the public. I'd love to talk to you more about this, and I can't wait to see you next Tuesday. This has been Tim's Tuesday.